Hi, Diana Ravagli here. Thank you for joining me in If You Get Lemons. I came to this planet to share something with humanity during times of transition. And I say it like that because it's all I knew when I started this journey. I have traversed many experiences on my odyssey, preparing for this very moment. Those experiences are precisely the focus and reason for this channel. I am opening this space to share how I have made lemonade with my body's living as the information I offer. I have the particularity that I never forgot I am not my body, and that I am the one responsible for its well-being because it was created specifically for my adventures here, in its realms. And as you can imagine, my body developed with a completely different set of filters that have allowed me to develop what most call gifts that I will show you are abilities that in turn also birthed quite different experiences for me with this body. In contrast to how other human beings manage their body's experiences, and in contrast with my own experiences with other bodies I remember having had prior on this planet. Living this experience, I have been a witness to my body's detailed development from pre-birth to having attained its own awareness and be on this journey of even conducting her living with me now. I do want to say that for as much as I recall through this body of my own story, I do not remember having had this experience of having my body gain awareness of itself. I know this is one of the reasons I am on this planet now, to experience this, which is due to the planetary shift that has been taking place and has changed everything for human beings, literally forevermore. My aim with this service of sharing my personal journey is to support you comprehend what has been and is already going on, and how to go through this transition in the easiest, most efficient, and joyful manner, as these have been the filters I have held and applied to conduct my own body's living. I feel it's important for me to also mention that I know you are going to hear experiences that may sound phenomenal, definitely ideas that will be new to you, and information that seems to push everything you knew out of the box. And that's okay. That's been my body's experiences as well. So know that I can relate to how the information lands, and I have prepared to deliver the information in the least disrupting way for you and your body without holding back the truth. That discomfort that comes is cognitive dissonance from the clashing of ideas that shake the very foundation you have had as the basis of what you consider real. And I want you to know that everything I share is truth. And I have been able to deal with cognitive dissonance quite successfully. So my advice is to relax and stay focused on the facts of the matter. Everything I share can be reduced to that invitation. Stay focused on the facts of the matter, as I say, because that is the bottom line of my message. The enticement to drop into your body and start conducting it to the effect that it begins to witness you provoking its experiences, a testament of the natural order it comprehends that assures it of your presence in its living, which conducts it to relax and open in trust. In that dynamic of wholeness, the default setting in the body's nervous system is pleasure. Yes, pleasure, which is where I aim to maintain my body and take yours. Plus, most of what I share is scientifically verifiable, and what is not yet confirmed will sooner or later be revealed as accurate anyway. Most likely not by my direct doing, but that I know will show up in your body's experiences somehow because I know that's how it works for human beings. One more thing I want to preface my communication. I want to let you know that I use language literally, and I do not mean or insinuate something else. And while on the topic, which is actually an example of how I will be using this space, I take advantage of what is coming up in the now to seed awareness. So while on the topic, I want to say that this straightforward, while respectful type of communication is part of what every human being will need to exercise sooner than later to match the quantic frequency of living in the 5D, which comes hand in hand with the new era, when appropriate communication is essential to comply energetically, because this level of expression entails sovereignty, since only through this particular lens of independence can human beings manage the relational hygiene to grow healthy connections with others, instead of the widespread codependent relating we have had. And the whole point of creating this space is to deepen. However, for that to take place in a way that feels coherent to you and your body, I feel the best place to start with today's episode is by giving you an abbreviated version about my own journey that will allow me to anchor some points of reference in our space to revisit at a later now, when I'll drop into the details. Because it is important that you are aware of how the information I share has come to be, because it is not mine, rather a result of how I have lived my experience with this DNA's expression through a compliance to quantic frequencies of living, which is why I can share this game from the inside out instead of everything else that the educational system has indoctrinated with that feeds human beings from the outside in. So remember this about the way that I communicate. Are you starting to get familiarized with how what comes from that deepening is how I am making my lemonade? So now, grab your chosen beverage to chillax as you follow, and let's get started. I want to start out by telling you that my body was born in Bogota, Colombia. And like I mentioned, I never forgot I am not my body. The first 4 years of my experience with her, I was simply going through the experience of getting to know and conduct this particular body. However, when her mother died 4 days before her 5th birthday, she and her brother were taken to live with their father's mother, meaning my body's grandmother, which is when I realized that no one was going to take care of my body the way her mother was. And out of the sense of responsibility I had with my body, because like I said, I remembered she was created for me particularly and was therefore mine to care for, I stepped in to conduct her experiences. My body's entire environment and living style shifted, literally, from one day to the next. So at that moment, the most important thing was for me to figure out my environment and how to function in it. And it did not escape me that I had the fortune of being able to study my body's family constellation and what I am now starting to present as genetic cosmology, because all 3 of her father's siblings were living there also, which formed the basis of my study of epigenetics from the inside out. By the time my body was 7, I had a connection to what we call the other side. And it came to my attention that extrasensory abilities had already awakened in her. So I started encouraging that development that was clairsentience, clairvoyance, premonitions, and telekinesis. My body was developing in a severe scenario, being put through horrific, intense experiences, to say the least. And realizing no one was going to come save me, I gave up on the God that had been described to me. One day when her stepmother humiliated her again, and my body got so deeply sad, feeling so lonely because she isolated me. I will get more into detail after. I got very upset about the injustice of how my body was being treated. So I directed my energy to make connection with life directly. And I claimed her sovereignty. She was 9 years of age at that time. That's also when Gaia, as I call the individualized energy managing the planetary consciousness, to differ from her body Earth, communicated with me. And that's what I started living with from that point forward, with Life and Gaia as my guides and my mission that was confirmed by them, who said that they would support me on this journey to give information to help human beings during times of transition. I started shifting my body's DNA when she was 12. And when she was 13, I started interacting with the external world in a personal manner. Before that, I had not had much interaction or contact with people even. I also moved to the USA at that age, and when I started commingling with the made-up matrix. I individuated when my body was 16, which is also when I started learning from external sources how to heal. By age 17, I had learned 4 other languages, and I had become a mediator and felt confident I was on my path. At age 21, I manifested my first medically provable miracle. And as time passed, my path forked into my mission and the picturesque happily ever after of the programming I had fallen for. But what is not real does not stand the test of time, and my world crashed in 2009 after I reclaimed my body back from that world in 2008. During those years, there were 3 definitive events in my body's experiences that are important to mention. And remember, I'm just leaving a flag to open these things later. One is that I downgraded my body's living to fit her husband's capacity to deal with life as a human being. That ended up being a better version, however, a similar slavery type of living that my body's mother experienced. Yet, there I was. It's an experience that allows me now to be able to speak about narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, because it is super important to detect those who are the real vampires. 2. I faced my body's brother's death, which was deeply gifting in various ways, like dealing with the other side, premonitions, and what he communicated to me that was deeply healing for my body. 3. I had 4 pregnancies that produced 2 living bodies for human beings on this planet. Each pregnancy opened an opportunity that granted me the connection to upgrade my own body's frequency to the energy that each one brought into my body's womb. Those pregnancies and my work are what fueled and processed the awareness I am sharing through my course Genetic Cosmology. 4. I provoked the second medically provable miracle at one of my body's ultimate low. And 5. I reclaimed my connection to Life and Gaia as my guides on this journey. So this is where I straightened out that dualistic perception that I had adopted for living in this society. And I asked to be given guidance on how to rectify course in the easiest and most efficient manner for all involved, overpassing giving me explanations and just keep me informed on a need-to-know basis, since I already knew their energy and it saved me time and effort. In April 2010, I was presented the guidance to move to California by mid-2011. In January 2011, 2 huge events took place in my body's experience. One was that I started my journey with weather manipulation, which, like the 2 medically provable miracles, these events can be proven also. And 2, I started to receive the information of truth about the system my body was living in. And then, when July came, everything had been set up for me in LA when it was time for me to move. The children's father did not allow them to travel with me, which completely shifted my body's experience. I knew my job was to heal my body, so I took advantage of that time to take care of her until I saw the next step. In February 2012, I entered a study that my team had been setting up for the previous year and a half with plant medicines, which I had been avoiding until then, and that study prompted me into an evaluation of my relationship with my body and the external relational hygiene I managed. I started applying what I had learned through my study of epigenetics and genetic cosmology, and I started to realize how I functioned so differently to others. It was not until then that I realized, and why I had a different relationship with life and Gaia too. In October 2012, Life and Gaia presented me with a fork on my path. They offered me an opportunity to remove the veil completely, but there was a catch. A path I did not have to take, but one that would be more fulfilling than anything else my body had experienced until then. A path I'd have to walk alone. By then, I had already noticed that people did not see me and did not really care to get to know me because they thought they were accurate about their assumptions of how insignificant I was, and that my silence to their judgments was interpreted as proof that they were accurate. I also realized how little investment my body or I had to show off the knowing I was working with, or the wisdom I had anchored through my body by then. So I opted to take the new path, and a whole new journey began. In 2015, I entered a study about time, which I had noticed my body has a completely different relationship with than most people. So, on purpose, I asked Life and Gaia to show me what time really is. In the beginning of 2016, my body was granted a move into a city that functioned like a little town still, that I had requested to live in because of the way my body felt traveling through that place. Once there, I asked to be shown why me, to carry out the mission I knew I had, that by then I knew was related to the planetary transition I was witnessing and supporting my own body to digest, and that it was based on the dimensional shift we had been facing since 2012. It is also when my body moved into the chrysalis stage in October. I wasn't able to drop into that space until the beginning of January, which Life and Gaia completely set up for me. And in January 2017, I started working that cocooning energy to design my new life story. And again, I committed my 100% attention to Life's and Gaia's guidance. I had done this before, but I noticed it was different this time. I recognized much easier my own energy compared to my body's energy, and I was able to witness my body's genetic blossoming from when she was 9, when I first played this game of handling my own experience to Life and Gaia for guidance and renewal. I could see how my body had gained awareness through me contacting her, and what a beautiful love story she and I had been weaving, along with Life and Gaia. It was a powerful time for me, having direct conversations with the Ascended Masters and receiving the recognition of my living that I hadn't had from people. I also got exposed to various things. One is the theory of building human energy by Nikola Tesla, which up until then I was not even aware existed, yet validated my journey because that's the way I had been managing my body's living since she was a child. 2, that science had proven human beings can have active genes that are up to 14 generations back, which confirmed what I had read I was managing with my body, according to the symptoms my body was displaying. 3, I saw and started working on the vision for what my service through my body was going to be in my new life story, for whenever I'd walk out of the cocooning stage. And 4, I was shown information about the journey I had been on from a Buddhist perspective, also very nourishing and reassuring for the path I was now on. In mid-2018, I was shown I was to present the information I had been collecting through my own living, which would extend epigenetics and was already scientifically confirmed by the information Lynn McTaggart, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, and Joe Dispenza had been presenting. I confessed that my body was not happy at all, that my mission included me openly sharing my experiences with her because I had been so private about this journey. It terrified my body. precisely because of what she could hear and feel others judge her for, and the hatred and mistreatment she got. My experiences with her had been about deciphering the information I was to share while hiding. I had not even formed part of the selfie movement. And then, in December 2018, I was thrown to swim with the sharks, where what I had accomplished genetically and the balance I had attained in my body's living was put to the test to bring someone my body loved dearly out of the 2D and help reconnect back to the 3D. She had been cutting, attempted suicide, was not doing well at school, was disturbing everyone else's peace at home. She had terrible relationships everywhere and was getting kicked out of her home. Oh, and she felt entitled with the excuse she did not ask to be born, when she had grown up knowing that was not truth. Against the odds, I kept my focus on my responsibilities to my mission, to inject the necessary order to harmonize while I seeded the virtues and goodness for her healing. And as doubtful as I was at the beginning, and a few times along the way, I pulled it off in 5 months. The work had paid off, and it was reflected back to her, to the degree that life and Gaia gifted her directly. After that, my body felt more confident about my task to share my story with her, and was excited about the reflections of synchronizations life and Gaia were consistently showing us. In August 2019, I was guided to drive to LA from Vancouver, BC, to pick up the person I was to share all this information with. And there are some amazing experiences that I want to share with you in regards to all of these, but I just want to give you the overview today. The person turned out to be someone I had foreseen, get this, since my body was 8 years of age. However, I could not reveal that to him or details about my mission because it is not correct and there are consequences to share things with people who do not see yet themselves, or like in this case, pretend they do not see or feel. It was completely obvious that the encounter was set up from life and Gaia, as you'll hear when I open up about this in a later episode. Suffice it to say that he saw it and felt it, but still chose to cater to the limitations he had built for himself, to continue the forced, false narrative that he had constructed to pretend he was someone he could not be bothered to become. And he chose to change the agreement we made prior to incarnation. So my body was sad, and I was confused. But I continued moving forward, developing the presentation of the information that was my mission to offer. I entered a stage that he was supposed to record when life and Gaia were training me to create and close realities. I'd have to create them, get settled in them, and deal with what was brought to me. Then start creating a new reality. Start uprooting from the one I was in. Pack, close the reality, move to the new reality, and do it all over again. It was also a time of a lot of land traveling that was used to further my abilities to influence the weather. In August 2020, I got the feeling to head back to Vancouver, BC. Everything was perfectly synchronized for my arrival. And after a few days there, I entered the 5D frequencies, and thus my new life story. And get this, it all happened on the final day Earth had no Schumann resonance for 4 days, which I was not aware of at the time, yet found out later that's when Earth moved into the 5D herself. And then, less than a month later, the person I had met, who had run the other way almost a year before, showed up again. His situation was different. However, his ex had already laced them with a demon to specifically hurt me and disturb my mission, out of envy for what I had forged with my body, which she could only fool others with pretenses and channeling. My body's heart was bound to the story he and I had written before getting bodies. My nearsightedness and the old charge in my genes dragged my body into lower frequencies again, meaning out of the quantic living I had graduated into because of me dealing with that person. It was with that puppet that I had to face the demons that mocked me when my body was little, because that person was the Judas who sold me to the demons, to whom he had entrusted his own body to deal with the fears he faced when his body was little, seeing the monsters he recognized were managing his body's father, and of course, the gift his ex had personalized to me. I feel this is supremely important information nowadays when the 4D energies are consistently working towards maintaining human beings bound to the 2D perception. And narcissists are graduating into full-blown psychopaths by choice. Yes, by choice, because they see the pain those energies cause through their bodies and still choose to not stand up to those demons and claim their bodies back from the contract made. And this is powerful to know because every single human being has to face the removal of those non-compliant energies from their body before getting a pass to the 5D Earth, even as a visitor. Dealing with that person put everything about my living as a human being to the test. And finally, after 4 years of a deep study with the underworld, I severed all ties in September 2024. I was weak, alone, not lonely, but alone at the physical level, because I was in a new country and I had been busy putting together a space to facilitate this information. And I continued getting constant psychic attacks from him, but I stayed focused on my task. Yet, a couple of days after I made a video to open a series where I'd be sharing my journey, I saw that he had started a website calling himself a holistic teacher, although up until then, he had not had one single real relationship with anyone. And all of this is provable. I told you, I only speak truth. He copied my identity and started selling my material as I had specifically asked him not to because I had foreseen he would. He opened a YouTube channel and was sharing my story as his, as if he had been behaving like that for decades. And then he started sharing the information I had been guiding him with, which he had stubbornly refused to follow, pretending he was channeling the ascended masters and Jesus. That's the information that he was sharing. Mine. I was devastated and felt bound because I knew he was waiting for me to share my information so he could share as his. That experience shook me to my core, literally, actually, and it prompted my body and I into a healing crisis because I had no one to support me in any way. And it wasn't just my body. I had a bone to pick with the way things are. And that brought a tremendous amount of new information into my field that I wanted to share with people, but I knew it was not time yet. Plus, I didn't want this story with the flavor of disgust for the deep betrayal my body and I had experienced. I wanted to clear my body's space before opening my heart because I know that's why it's me sharing this information. Because I know what happens when I speak through my body's heart. I could feel the soup of ideologies my body was facing, pictures and snippets of realities that hurt my body so deeply. And I felt like such a loser for having failed my body so much, that we had woken her genius and had so much to share, and yet I was caught in a war for my body with entities that started shutting me up since she was growing up. I had a whole clan of them constantly in my space, suggesting quote-unquote solutions that, of course, I knew would not yield the type of realities I was committed to building for my body. But she was tired, and it demands more of me continuing to hold a steady frequency to manage her living with. And I kept holding on because my team kept being there for me. And then I ran out of money, and I was no magnet to goodness because of how upset, angry, sad, and frustrated I was at how I saw things unfold. I challenged life to show me why the heck was I still in that hell dealing with those energies when I had done nothing but to be a good person. Everything that I offered in a consistently increasing manner to open only from my heart's goodness, literally from the purity of my body's heart, confirmed by life itself, always living with joy, not stupidity or silliness, but real humor about the silly things that my body and I experience weaving our day. My body was so hurt, and witnessing her like that, I was provoking anger in my body because I couldn't believe how people cover up inconvenience to laziness of living only by truth, by what is correct. And it was the same injustice with which I kept quiet about my body's father being a psychopath, and the same injustice with which my body's children's father, yes, of course, another psychopath, kept the money, properties, bank accounts, the house I built with my own 2 hands while I was pregnant with my first child, because I was ensuring to manifest the best realities I could for my family. He even twisted the children away from and against me. And then, the person my body had grown up seeing since she was 8 had stabbed me in the back and was so cruel as to even tell me to leave the city when he lives here because he was following me. And there were energies telling me to speak from that place of heavy sentiments and to aim for the jugular like they had each with me. And my body is now deeply grateful that I didn't. And I am eternally grateful to my team's support. Eventually, I got tired and I called out to the one I had never before called upon to get me out of trouble. I called Jesus, and I asked him that in the name of all goodness I had offered, and if my body was worth being alive, to get me out of that situation, and for me to be taken to where my body would be safe. In less than a week, my situation had changed completely. I was sent someone who helped me open up a new physical reality, and 2 weeks later, I had jumped into the physical reality I am now operating from. I was exhausted, but my body had been successfully moved, and from then forward, it's been a game of restabilizing my body back to the natural harmony I usually manage in her cosmology that then allows us the ability to read and affect her world and mine, and how I can produce the informational translation to you and how the incarnation game really works. This is my mission and what this body was designed to deliver during these times of transition. And that life and Gaia have showed me, my body and I, in so many different ways. My body and I are ready to speak out now and pull the veils back. So get ready, because this is my invitation to join me as I share with you the epic adventure that I have been on with this particular body, and will pull topics related to everything human beings are facing now, which are the activations that are right now turning the key of the new body on for us to manage on a consistent basis from now forward. This is it. We are the Lucies of this species jump now. We are the group of human beings who transport this species from being planetary beings into cosmic beings. It was our carbon bodies that blossomed these new silicon bodies, because as part of Earth, as they are, they have been blossoming the genetic mutations that have upgraded the bodies of human beings and everything that is matter of its matter, and to be able to digest that information at a much higher speed of processing, as well to match the quantic frequencies to where Earth has been aligning. Human beings must learn to activate the body's bio-nanotechnology, to manage the body's vibration within awareness, to be able to surf those new waves that demand the body's sovereignty. And no matter how much someone reads the Bible, or drinks ayahuasca, or does Reiki, or use light codes and light language, and etheric crystals, And regardless of how many people agree with hypocrite ways, if you are unable to maintain your body's vibration within at least 61% of alignment to the quantic realms the 5D Earth is managing now, during its waking hours, your body is naturally going to remain bound to the 3D Earth. Human beings are now in the butterfly stage, having just come out of the chrysalis stage. This is when the new bodies are being activated over the carbon-based bodies. Our genes have zero memory of what is going on because regardless of the technology Atlanteans and Lemurians or anyone else had on the planet before, no one before has experienced the planet at this frequency of living. Because back then the body was not emitting the vibration that it is at this point. So we are encouraged by the body's ancestors, and we are supported by the energetics from the 5D and beyond, who celebrate our effort in the etheric realms. Yet we each make way for this specific body. We are each plucking out of the 3D to walk into the 5D Earth. So join me on this journey to unravel this love story based on truth, invoking the justice for humanity that we deserve. For now, thank you for your presence. And if you feel this is good information, I'd appreciate you help share this awareness. To comment and ask questions, I am leaving the link to the channel's group where you can write your messages to me. And there is no algorithm on this platform, yet I'd appreciate that you leave me an emoji so I know you heard this. Again, thank you for being here in If You Get Lemons. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao.